Over the past several thousand years, there have been countless sightings across the world of creatures that can only be described as dinosaurs. Despite the general belief that all species of dinosaurs have been extinct for over 65 million years, people from a wide variety of backgrounds have reported encountering living dinosaurs. Although many skeptics have argued that these claims are merely hoaxes, many of these reports have credibility to them. Several sightings even come from well-known and reputable historical figures. The ancient Greek author Herodotus saw flying reptiles alive in Egypt, which according to his description were very reminiscent of pterosaurs. The 16th century Italian explorer Filippo Pigafetta reported seeing pterosaurs in the Congo River basin in Africa. Alexander the Great and his lieutenant Onesicritus encountered what they described as great hissing dragons that lived in the caves in India. And Marco Polo reported that there were enormous two-legged serpents in the province of Khorasan in China, which also lived in caves. Another species of reptile that had once lived in India in abundance was recorded by various Greek historians, including Strabo and Megasthenes. These reptiles were described as looking similar to serpents, but having wings like those of bats. Numerous other reports originate from tribal peoples living in regions such as the Congo River Basin in Africa and Papua New Guinea, who had never seen or heard of dinosaurs prior to their encounters. The Mokele Mbembe is an animal described as resembling a sauropod dinosaur, which has been sighted by hundreds of people alone in the past century in the Congo River Basin. Another dinosaur that has been sighted in the Congo is known as the Mabilu, which means the animal with planks growing out of its back. This creature is described as looking identical to the Stegosaurus, and has been sighted numerous times at the Liguala River. Hundreds of eyewitnesses over the past several decades have seen pterosaurs in Papua New Guinea, with the majority of witnesses having never seen or heard of pterosaurs prior to their encounters. Hundreds of other people have seen plesiosaurs in bodies of water across the world, such as in Lake Champlain in New England, Loch Ness in Scotland, Ollantaytambo in Venezuela, and the Okanagan Lake in British Columbia, Canada. Not only have there been sightings of living dinosaurs, but there's even incidents of people discovering the fresh remains of dinosaurs. Plesiosaur carcasses have been found on the coast of Monterey Bay in California, as well as on a beach in South Georgia. A plesiosaur carcass was even recovered by a Japanese fishing boat near New Zealand. Ancient Peruvian pottery, which has been conventionally dated to have been made between 60 to 800 AD, depicts animals that are very reminiscent of a species of dinosaur known as the Amargasaurus. Petroglyphs reportedly created by the Sioux Indians at the Agawa Rock in Ontario, Canada, depict a similar creature, which is remarkably similar to the Ankylosaurus. The Tapram Temple at the Angkor complex in Cambodia contains a stone-carved depiction of an animal resembling a Stegosaurus. Ancient jade figures discovered in China depict various species of dinosaurs. Art created in Europe during the Middle Ages is notorious for depicting dinosaurs, including the Nothosaurus and pterosaurs. Although there have been hundreds of sightings of dinosaurs spanning thousands of years, scientists claim that all dinosaurs had gone extinct over 65 million years ago. If humans did not exist until around 65 million years after all dinosaurs had gone extinct, then there should not have been any sightings of living dinosaurs throughout human history. Mainstream scientists will deny the possibility that dinosaurs have existed alongside humans, and yet they claim to have discovered numerous samples of intact proteins, red blood cells, chromatin, and other forms of soft tissues in dinosaur remains, which under no circumstances could have lasted 65 million years without fully decomposing. Intact collagen proteins have recently been extracted from the remains of a Seismosaurus, dated to be over 150 million years old. The issue with this discovery is that collagen peptide molecules only have a half-life of 1,000 years. This means that in 150 million years, the collagen proteins would have experienced 150,000 half-life decays. There would be no trace of collagen proteins left to be detected. This is not the only example of intact collagen proteins being found in dinosaur fossils. In 2005, a notable paleontologist named Mary Schweitzer had collected a fossilized femur belonging to a Tyrannosaurus rex that was found in the Hell Creek Formation of Montana. Upon examination of the fossilized femur, Schweitzer discovered the presence of intact collagen protein fibers. According to Schweitzer, quote, "What we found was unusual because it was still soft and still transparent and still flexible." In 1990, Mary Schweitzer had discovered red blood cells in the fossilized bones of another Tyrannosaurus rex. She had stated that despite knowing that what she had observed had the same red circular structures that red blood cells have, and that they were in the correct location in the fossil to be red blood cells, she was initially afraid to tell anyone about her discovery. An article on Science explains, Schweitzer knew this amounted to paleontological heresy. According to the textbooks, when fossils form, all but the hardest organic matter decays, leaving a mix of leftover minerals, plus new ones that have leached in and taken the bone's shape. Meanwhile, the fragile chains of amino acids and proteins quickly fall apart, as would any other form of soft tissues, such as blood cells. According to current understandings of science, the reason why the discussed biomolecules have not degraded is because upon each dinosaur's death, iron in the blood was released and emitted free radicals, causing the molecules to bond by cross-linking and preserving them. Schweitzer's findings that iron increases the resistance of fixed biomolecules to enzymatic or microbial digestion does not mean that it prevents chemical reactions from degrading the biomolecules. While the iron does resist microbial degradation, it does not inhibit hydrolysis or oxidation, which are also largely responsible for the deterioration of biomolecules, such as proteins and chromatin. In 2006, Mary Schweitzer discovered the remains of a Brachylophosaurus canadensis, dated to be 80 million years old, which contained intact collagen peptide molecules, as well as intact blood vessels that were still flexible. A materials scientist named Sergio Bertazzo had analyzed other samples consisting of a claw from an ancient theropod, and he found intact red blood cells, which also contained nuclei, which mirrors Mary Schweitzer's discovery of red blood cells in Tyrannosaurus rex fossils. Furthermore, a fossil of a mosasaur, dated to be around 80 million years old, was found in South Dakota and also contained intact collagen proteins. Preserved pigmentation has also been discovered in several samples of dinosaur remains. A Psittacosaurus discovered in China, dated to be 100 million to 122 million years old, still contained highly pigmented, preserved soft tissues, as well as darkly pigmented skin on the underside of its skull. In China, the eggs of a dinosaur known as the Oviraptorid, dated to be over 66 million years old, contain preserved pigments called protoporphyrin and biliverdin. The chemical composition of these pigments would have decomposed as tension is relieved through the double bonds connecting them due to entropy alone, regardless of how well the pigments had been preserved. Another well-preserved dinosaur was discovered by paleontologists in Alberta, Canada. This animal, called the Borealopelta markmichelli, which was dated to be approximately 112 million years old, also contains a significant amount of preserved pigments in the form of melanin, which should have entirely decomposed due to entropy's effects on the molecules. The dinosaur's fossil also contains preserved remnants of consumed plant material in the stomach, consisting primarily of fern leaves. The Borealopelta markmichelli had been swept up by a flood and rapidly buried in sediment, enabling the dinosaur's body to be preserved in such immaculate detail, as well as the plants that it had eaten just before being buried. Paleontologists have also uncovered the remains of a Caudipteryx in northeastern China, which was dated to be around 125 million years old. Within the Caudipteryx remains, paleontologists discovered transparent chondrocytes with nuclear preservation in the cartilage, and within the nuclei, there were preserved threads of chromatin. Chromatin is a substance made up of DNA and RNA, as well as proteins. The presence of preserved chromatin in this fossilized dinosaur indicates that DNA was able to resist deterioration for 125 million years. However, DNA has a half-life of 521 years, and every 1,000 years, 75% of the remaining DNA degrades. Therefore, after only 6.8 million years, there would be no DNA left at all. Even after just 1.5 million years, it would not be possible to read any of the DNA because there would be so little. After 125 million years, which is the supposed age of the Caudipteryx fossil, the DNA would have experienced 239,923 half-life decays. There would be so little DNA left by this point that there would be no detectable trace, if the DNA was truly 125 million years old. Another instance of preserved DNA in dinosaur remains comes from the discovery of an infant Hypacrosaurus in Montana, dated to be over 75 million years old. Cartilage cells in the skull of the Hypacrosaurus contain nuclei, which in turn contain preserved chromatin and DNA, as the previously mentioned Caudipteryx did. After 75 million years, the DNA in the Hypacrosaurus cartilage would have undergone 143,954 half-lives, so there would be no detectable trace of DNA in the remains, unless the dinosaur had died more recently in Earth's history than paleontologists claim. If these fossils were created recently enough for them to still contain soft tissues, then how were they able to fossilize in such a short period of time? Contrary to popular belief, it does not take millions of years for fossils to form. The majority of fossils are either petrified or premineralized. Petrified fossils are those in which all of the organic material has been replaced with minerals. This process is most common in fossilized plants, especially wood. With petrification, no soft tissues, such as cells, would be preserved. The majority of animal fossils, rather than becoming petrified, are instead premineralized. Premineralization occurs when the minerals fill in the empty spaces and pores of the remains, but do not replace any of the original organic material. Premineralization is the process that creates the vast majority of dinosaur fossils and preserves soft tissues. Soft tissues in premineralized fossils only decompose after approximately 4 million years, which is much less than 65 million years. According to Yale University, soft tissues, such as blood vessels, cells, and nerves, which are stored inside the hard tissue, are more delicate and thought to decay rapidly after death. These soft tissues are composed mainly of proteins, which are believed to completely degrade within about 4 million years. The statement is contradictory to the discovery of in-tact soft tissue in fossils that were dated to be well over 65 million years old. Keep in mind, however, that rather than dating dinosaur fossils directly by using radiometric dating, scientists date fossils by determining which strata of the geologic column they're in, which in turn has been dated by the order of fossils that each layer contains. In simple terms, scientists do not know how old fossils are on their own, so they determine the age of each fossil by which strata of the geologic column it was found in, and the age of each geologic column was determined by which fossils are found in each strata. It's worth noting that neither of these processes has confirmed that either the fossils or any strata in the geologic column are millions of years old, since neither can be dated directly. As explained in a previous video, geologists cannot radiometrically date any of the rocks in the geologic column, because so much mixing and elemental contamination has occurred due to geologic processes such as hydrothermal circulation, plate tectonics, and weathering, so that any attempts at radiometric dating would result in inaccurate ages. Because of the soft tissues discovered in various dinosaur remains that should be too old to still contain soft tissues, and because there is no way to accurately date fossils or geologic strata, one must infer that these fossils are, in fact, more recently created than was previously believed. Researchers with the Foundation for Scientific Advancement found that they were able to produce fossils in just 24 hours by packing various types of organic material, including lizard limbs and bird feathers, into clay with a hydraulic press, and then baking the clay tablets containing organic material in a laboratory oven at over 410 degrees Fahrenheit and 3,500 psi. Organic materials, covered in sediment and subjected to heat and pressure even lower than that used by the researchers in this experiment, would still rapidly form into premineralized fossils, requiring only several days or up to a few years at the most, depending on the amount of pressure and temperatures exerted. An event that involves the combination of flooding, which would cover organisms in sediment and compact them, and major tectonic activity that would significantly heat up the Earth, would result in the correct conditions to cause the rapid fossilization of organisms, explaining how materials such as soft tissues have remained in fossils. The youngest fossils, according to conventional dating, are around 10,000 years old. Fossils of mammalian megafauna, including the Diprotodon found in Australia, Glyptodons, which are found in the Americas, and the Paraceratherium transrelicum, found across Eurasia, are often found in a less preserved state than many dinosaur fossils, which are claimed to be at least 65 million years older than the most recent megafauna. If megafauna from only the last 10,000 years could be fossilized, then these dinosaur remains could also be only 10,000 years old as well. These fossils could be even younger than 10,000 years old if they were created under conditions that allowed for rapid fossilization. However, scientists would not want to admit it if these fossils were created only a few thousand years ago, because it would irreparably damage their credibility, since they have so adamantly insisted that dinosaurs have not been alive for millions of years, in spite of the increasing evidence indicating that not all dinosaurs have gone extinct. Dinosaurs are clearly not living in abundance across the world, as they had in the ancient past. Key events led to the demise of the majority of dinosaurs, as well as other ancient species, including the mammalian megafauna that also inhabited the Earth long ago. As explained in previous videos on Shattered History, ample evidence indicates that there had been wide-scale tectonic activity, continental displacement, flooding, and worldwide cooling in the ancient past, which led to the Quaternary Ice Age that the Earth is currently still in. During the catastrophic environmental shift spurred by these and other disasters, many animals and plants perished. It is possible that scientists have discovered conclusive evidence that there are still small populations of dinosaurs living on Earth, but it would be in their interest to not publicize this information, because the realization that not all dinosaurs went extinct around 65 million years ago due to meteor impacts, and that it's possible that some species of dinosaurs were able to survive the worldwide catastrophe, would result in a complete shift in the scientific paradigm regarding the assumed history of life on Earth, and put many other scientific theories into considerable doubt in the public eye. Although the theory that dinosaurs coexisted with humans in the ancient past, and may still exist today, is controversial, it would be wise to not dismiss the possibility entirely, as new discoveries are made every day, and it's also becoming increasingly more apparent that information and findings are often suppressed in order to promote certain narratives to the public. This video was produced with the generous support of my Patreon community: Joseph Thompson, Jeffrey Schellenberg, Ablobonic, Adam Walker, The Biggest Birdie, Liam Flatley, Nathaniel Lee, Top Secret, Alvaro Aguayo, Matthew Tyler, Christian Chase, and Mama Lou.